We got a scintillating SSD review from Mr. Gager to
Yes,
talk
we did.
about.
I think we can close out the episode with this. So this is the OCZ Vector 180 solid state drive reviewed. Barefoot goes bigger. Jeff, this is your reviewed. Your review.
Yeah, this is kind of par for the course for a new SSD. What's happened over the last several years, we had a whole bunch of controllers come out designed for the SATA interface, and those really haven't been updated. Controller makers are working on stuff for PCI Express. So in the interim, what we've had is sort of updates to these drives as new flash memory comes out. So basically, this is like the old Vector, the Vector 150, except it's been upgraded to Toshiba's A19 NAND, which is their second generation of 19 nanometer flash. Toshiba now owns OCZ, so it gets an in-house discount and inside line on the latest and greatest NAND. So this is Toshiba's new stuff. So it's basically the Vector 150 with new NAND and a couple of other small tweaks. The first one is that you can now get the drive in a 960 gig capacity. Previous Barefoot drives were limited to sort of the 480 to 512 gig range. So there's a larger option now. And the other one is they added some sort of, what do they call this? Power Failure Management Plus. Which basically just protects some of the information that they store in the DRAM cache on the drive. So this isn't actually user data, but it sort of describes how the data is stored on the flash. So that is now protected by a power management scheme. So if your laptop dies unexpectedly or the power goes out, that information will be preserved. But it's not sort of the server grade power failure protection that you would get in kind of an enterprise grade SSD, where you have even data that's kind of in between the host system and being written to the flash is preserved. So it's not really a big change or a big upgrade, but it's just a little addition that they've made. And that's kind of it with the drive. The performance, it performs about like the old Vector, which is good. I mean, the Barefoot 3 controller is a very fast all-around controller. It has good sequential performance, good random performance. So it's just one of these good all-around drives. With OCZ, the discussion tends to not center around performance so much as reliability. I guess they're a little bit infamous for, the Vertex 2 days, I think it was, where they were one of the first companies to adopt SandForce's controller, which, wasn't quite ready yet in terms of firmware overall stability. So I think they suffered the brunt of that more than other SSD makers. So every time we review an OCZ SSD now, we do kind of a little check at user reviews on Amazon and Newegg and check through the forums and see if people are having problems with the drives, because there has been a trajectory in the last few years where there have been much fewer, negative reviews online. There have been fewer people complaining of problems and fewer actual problems with drives. It was a spell where OCZ was issuing a lot of firmware updates to correct problems, and that seems to be over now. And all of the latest drives, in particular the ones that have come out since OCZ was acquired by Toshiba, have really good user reviews online. There aren't a lot of people complaining about DOA units or premature failures or some of the other things that afflicted OCZ drives in the past. There are a couple of exceptions. A couple of the 480 gig drives that they've released recently, the ARC 100 and the Radeon R7, for some reason have a disproportionate number of negative reviews. But otherwise, people seem to be pretty happy with their OCZ drives. It looks like the just being acquired by Toshiba and sort of the resources that they now have for validation testing, and then also the fact that this is their own controller now that they're using. It's in-house NAND that they're using. They kind of have the entire stack in-house, and I think that's going to help them, or has been helping them, make more reliable drives. So yeah, that's what else?
That's it, man.
There's, I guess I should say this is kind of a high-end SSD, so it's a little bit on the pricier side, but it does come with a 5-year warranty. So it's one of those drives where it's kind of in an awkward position, because if you want a really fast SSD for something in particular, you're probably not looking at serial ATA. You're probably looking at some of the newer PCI Express drives that deliver better performance. and this is not one of those drives that's going to give you the lowest cost per gigabyte. So it's a kind of in an awkward position where it's faster than a lot of SATA SSDs, but it's not necessarily going to load games or your operating system, or it's not going to be fast in ways that the average PC user is necessarily going to feel. So it's one of those sort of mid-range to higher-end drives that you are paying a little bit extra for a long or a higher endurance rating and a longer warranty.